Israeli spies stayed 4 weeks at a time with Jeffrey Epstein in Manhattan. Leaked emails show Epstein working on a wire transfer to 𝗍𝗿𝗱𝗏𝗏's top aide, Yoni Koren, who regularly stayed at his apartment. Ryan Grimm and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Hussein. November 11, 2025. An Israeli military intelligence officer stayed at Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan apartment on at least 3 occasions, including once in February 2013. While working as a senior aide to then Israeli Minister of Defense 𝗍𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗏, Yoni Koren made his intelligence career working in covert operations alongside the Mossad, and remained a lieutenant colonel in reserve duty after he officially left the intelligence directorate. He stayed in Epstein's apartment again for 2 weeks in October 2014, and a third time for 10 more days in September 2015. Drop site compiled evidence of these stays from schedules released by the House Oversight Committee last month and Barak's hacked emails. Originally released by the Handala hack team and later shared by Distributed Denial of Secrets. On all 3 trips, Koren appeared to be conducting official or unofficial business. A Times of Israel article from late January 2013, a few weeks before Koren's first documented stay, identifies him as still actively serving as the bureau chief for the Israeli Ministry of Defense that month. After Barak's retirement from government, Koren continued to serve as an informal intermediary between the American and Israeli intelligence communities, with Barak acting as his handler. Email records show Barak using Koren as an intermediary to exchange information with AMAN, the Israeli Military Intelligence Directorate. Koren was also active in Epstein and Barak's efforts to source cybersecurity startups from the technology research units of Amman, demonstrating how enmeshed in Israeli spy networks he remained. In February 2015, leaked emails show Barak sending Epstein bank details for funds to be wired to Koren's Citibank account. The purpose of the wire transfer is not known. Drop site was unable to confirm that the funds were successfully transferred, but the bank transfer information was followed by an unusually cryptic communication between Barak and Koren regarding handoff of a physical bank card. Koren helped arrange a private tour of the White House and Pentagon for Barak and his grandchildren, which took place a few days later. The Pentagon trip was coordinated by Jeremy Bash, former Chief of Staff of the Central Intelligence Agency and the Department of Defense, as well as the ex-husband of CNN host Dana Bash. Koren and Bash helped to exchange messages and arrange meetings between their respective bosses, Barak and Leon Panetta, the former CIA Director and Secretary of Defense. Keep the card. On February 14, 2015, Barak sent a note to Epstein. "Hi Jeff, will you be in New York during the coming week?" Barak wrote. Epstein replied, "I'm flying back to New York Tuesday to meet with you." Epstein's personal calendars, released by the U.S. House Oversight Committee last month, shows that they ultimately met on February 19 at 5 p.m. But the 2 men had a second, last-minute meeting that wasn't reflected on calendars released by Congress. According to hacked emails, Barak arranged an urgent appointment with Epstein on February 20, writing, "Are you still in town? Can we meet again for 30 minutes today or tomorrow?" Epstein's meetings had run late the previous night, and he'd already missed his flight to Paris, but he agreed to meet. 3 days later, on February 23, Barak sent Epstein an email titled, "Yoni Account Info," containing wire transfer details for a Citibank account belonging to 𝗧𝗿𝗍𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Koren. The purpose of the wire transfer is not apparent from the email records. That Saturday, February 28, Barak sent an unusual email to Koren, containing detailed instructions to pick up a package from the 𝗍𝗿𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 hotel in Manhattan's Midtown East. According to the email, Barak purchased Red Beats by Dre headphones on February 24, the day after sending Epstein the bank details. Barak instructed Yoni to collect a package containing the headphones from the hotel and return them to an Apple store on the Upper West Side. According to Barak's message, attached to the box was an envelope with a receipt and a bank card. Barak wrote Corin, "To get a refund in cash, you'll need the card. Email me when you collect it." Barak's request was highly unusual. For one thing, it was in English, across hundreds of emails exchanged between Barak and Corin in the leaked email dataset. The two men communicated almost exclusively in Hebrew. It was also unheard of for Barak to request Yoni to run a mundane errand, and the timing of the exchange also raises a red flag. After purchasing the headphones and leaving them for Corin, Barak was scheduled to leave the country. Corin seemed to immediately understand Barak's request, and he agreed, writing back, in Hebrew, "No problem, what's her name?" Barak replied with a woman's name, Rachel Levin. This name doesn't appear anywhere else in Barak's emails, and it's unclear who or what he was referring to. The next Monday, March 2nd, Corin collected the package and reported to Barak that the card had been credited with the funds. Barak instructed Corin to keep the card, and they made arrangements to meet in Israel. On March 12th, after a brief trip to London, Barak landed in Tel Aviv and immediately emailed Corin, asking to speak on the phone. It never happened. Sometimes an earphone is just an earphone. But Barak and Corin had good reason to write emails in coded language. Documents leaked by Edward Snowden just over a year prior revealed that the two men were major counterintelligence targets for the United States, and the NSA had been snooping on their messages. Corin's intelligence career began in the research division of Amon, the IDF's military intelligence directorate, eventually rising through the ranks to become a senior officer. In 1985, Corin worked on a covert campaign with Mossad to help Syrian intelligence kidnap PLO operatives traveling from Cyprus to Lebanon. Corin described the operation in an interview with Israeli New York Times journalist Ronan Bergman for his book Rise and Kill First. When Barak became the chief of staff of the IDF in the 1990s, Corin became his bureau chief, managing Barak's schedule and operations. He was also an assistant to Israel's military attaché in Washington, coordinating senior Pentagon contacts like Colin Powell, then the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. After Barak left the IDF, Corin headed Barak's staff as Interior Minister, then Foreign Minister, then Defense Minister. Barak served as Prime Minister from 1999 until 2001. After Barak's retirement, Corin was a covert fixer in Washington who enjoyed special access to senior national security figures, including Leon Panetta, and his senior advisor, Jeremy Panetta, who went straight from director of the CIA to defense secretary under former President Barack Obama, was Barak's U.S. equivalent. As soon as Barak left the Israeli government, Corin became a key go-between for Barak and the American and Israeli intelligence communities. On March 25, 2013, 1 week after Barak left his defense minister post, Corin forwarded a personal invitation from Jeremy Bash to participate on a panel on the Arab Spring, or as they called it, Middle East turmoil, at the Panetta Institute for Public Policy in Monterey, California. In an email thread with Bash, Barak agreed to come to California and expressed his eagerness to discuss possible opportunities with LP, Leon Panetta, and YK, Yoni Corin. After the Monterey event, Barak and his wife drove north to the San Francisco Bay Area for a private meeting with Oracle founder Larry Ellison at his mansion in Woodside, a massive estate modeled after a 16th century Japanese empress palace. In his Evernote app, Barak bookmarked a conversation with Ellison's chief of staff with the tags at private and hashtag initiatives. The following year, according to Epstein's personal calendars, released by the House, Corin stayed at Epstein's spare apartment again for the first 2 weeks of October 2014. The calendar released by the House committee reads, Reminder, Yoni in appointment September 30th to October 13th. In the weeks preceding his stay at Epstein's apartment, Corin maintained contact with spies in Amman, despite his supposed status as a private citizen. On September 14, 2014, Barak and Coron exchanged emails about 𝗧𝗿𝗶𝗁𝗶𝗴𝗲𝗍 opinion column titled, "A Strange Man, 𝗘𝗆 that asserted Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi offered to give Palestinians a huge plot of land in the Sinai Peninsula, adjacent to Gaza, but Mahmoud Abbas rejected the idea. Barak asked Coron to confirm with someone in Amman if the report was true. Coron returned a few hours later with a response. It never happened. The emails suggest Coron worked as a two-way intermediary, with Barak hinting at Coron to pass a message back to contacts in Israel. When 𝗧𝗿𝗶𝗁𝗶𝗴𝗍𝗍 published a second column about el-Sisi's alleged offer, the next day, Barak wrote Coron, "Second time, probably someone should deny it." On October 6, 2014, while staying in Epstein's apartment, Coron forwarded Barak a message from 𝗬𝗁𝗱𝗄𝗏𝗍𝗍 henchman, containing details of 𝗬𝗁𝗱𝗄𝗏𝗍𝗍 travel dates to promote his book, 𝗜𝗏𝗁𝗱𝗏𝗍𝗍, about his service as CIA Director and Secretary of Defense under President Obama. The message was taken by Barak as a proposal by Coron to meet with 𝗬𝗁𝗱𝗄𝗏 in New York. He expressed that he would be unable to make it in time. Barak later asked Coron for help getting special access to secured areas of the White House and Pentagon. On December 8, 2014, Barak emailed Coron to inform him of plans to take his daughter and two grandkids to Washington, D.C. in the spring, writing, "I want to take them to the White House and get there something more than the regular public tourist visit. Please see if you can be of help." Bash took care of the arrangements for Barak and his family to get access to secure facilities in the White House and the Pentagon. Bash was by then a private citizen, and he had started his own consulting company, Beacon Global Strategies, but he still enjoyed high-level access to the White House and U.S. defense establishment. Yoni helped Barak pass along his family's passport details to Beacon, so they could receive clearance. Barak, his daughter, and his two grandchildren visited the White House and Pentagon on March 31st. They received a Secret Service escort and a guided tour from 𝗖𝗆𝗆𝗱𝗏𝗄𝗏, a special assistant to President Obama, and the National Security Council Director for the Levant, Israel, and Egypt. 𝗆𝗆𝗱𝗏𝗄𝗏 later negotiated the largest military aid package in American history, a 10-year, $38 billion package for Israel. In 2016, the Pentagon visit was coordinated by Eric Lynn, another senior advisor to 𝗬𝗁𝗱𝗄𝗏, who arranged for a private tour by Laura Abdegrove, the Defense Department's Israel Country Director. A few weeks after the visit, in April 2015, Lynn emailed Barak details about fundraising for his congressional campaign in Florida's 13th District. Barak forwarded the message to Coron, asking, "What should be done?" Yoni replied, "You don't have to do anything." Lynn lost. The seat is now held by Republican Representative 𝗫𝗁𝗆𝗁𝗆 Luna, who spearheads the House effort to release the Epstein files. Lynn did not respond to request for comment. Endless loyalty to the state. Yoni Coron died of cancer on January 8, 2023. His career of service to Israel ran exactly parallel to Barak's, albeit in the shadows. He remained one of Barak's most trusted advisors and closest confidants throughout his military and civilian careers. Barak did not respond to a request for comment, neither did Jeremy Bash. On Coron's passing, Barak wrote a eulogy for Coron, calling him a talented intelligence officer with endless loyalty to the role, the IDF and the state. A brave man who knew no fear, even when he stood in front of the forces of evil. Correction. The article headline originally referenced Epstein's mansion in Manhattan. The address in question was a separate apartment owned by Epstein in the city. Coron was a senior officer in Amman, but not the head of the Military Intelligence Directorate.